Hello and welcome to this video. So this video we're back in the Python and we're going to try and set things up so that we start updating our information automatically. To do the automatic updates we actually need to add in an extra module, and we need to add a module called schedule. So I've already added it into requirements.txt here, so if you need it the next time you've got it in the list here. And I've also created a new file called run_tasks.py in the root of the project folder as well, so not in the static. Next thing is I'm going to work now from the terminal inside Visual Studio Code. So at the top, just going to type terminal, new terminal, and you'll see that down the bottom, it's straight away activated my virtual environment for me. If it hasn't done this for you, then make sure, as you always have in the normal console, that you activate the virtual environment down here. So I'm just going to type clear, so that's all cleared. Now we haven't installed schedule, so to install it, you need to type pip install and then schedule. Now I already have it installed, so it's telling me that the requirement is already satisfied, but if you haven't got it, then please make sure you type pip install schedule, otherwise it's not going to work. So we'll start these automated updates inside our dataprep.py. The first thing I want to do is get rid of this code in here, and I want to cut it actually, and then we're going to create a new function, and we're going to call this function save file. And paste the file saving code into there. I'm going to delete the static and we'll save this data.json into the root of our project folder. Now what we can do when we ever run this script is we can put the save file down here and everything is the same as before. The other thing I'm going to do is inside getPairData is change the granularity to M1 from M5. I can't remember whether we did that in the previous video or not, so I'm just going to change that to an M1 so we've got slightly more frequent candles when we're testing this. And now inside prepare data, we're going to change this very slightly because we want to have an API where we load the candle data, but we also load the time that we updated the data so we can check if things are running properly. So I'm going to make a new object called data API, and in there we'll have the key price data and the key updated. And in the place of this XX for the price data, we're going to cut out this final data frame to dict orient equals record, so that can go in there. And then for the updated, we need the time as a string, so we'll just copy the code that we've got up there. And instead of the X in here, we can have the dt.datetime and then UTC now. And that'll always give us the UTC time that this script was updated. Now at the moment we're returning just json.dumps string with nothing actually inside. So I'm going to return json.dumpstring data API and indent equals 2 on the end there. So now we have our script running. What we should have here is just saving the file. It'll open the data.json in the root of our folder and everything should be the same as before. I'm just going to run that in the console at the bottom here just to test this. So we have our data.json created here with our price data, and then at the bottom we should have the updated, which we do. I want to do one tiny little adaptation to this save file. There's a slight issue with this in the sense that inside this with open, the file will be created and blocked by the program here whilst it writes the data. The problem is it takes a while to fetch this data, and we might have this problem where the web dash tries to read the JSON file whilst the JSON file is being accessed by this function, and then we'll get an error in the web dash which we can deal with, but it would be a bit cleaner to try and minimize the chance of this happening at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that we've got some API data and set that already equal to the prepare data. And then once we've got the data, we can write that to file, which takes very, very little time at all. And this reduces the likelihood that something else is trying to access this file at the same time. So the next thing to do then is to actually schedule this function to be called every so many minutes or seconds or whatever you'd like to do. So inside runtask.py then, what we're going to do is we're going to import schedule and import this save file function that we've just written. Now schedule, there's a load of documentation online about how it works, but basically you can schedule tasks to run very, very easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that schedule every 1 minute to run this save file function. And then the way we then set it up is that when we execute this particular script, we just say the if name is main, we call the save file straight away because we want to run and save our data as soon as we execute the script, and then we have an infinite loop running until we Control-C the script, which simply tells the scheduler, please every 1 minute run this save file. So if I go down into the console Visual Studio, I'm actually going to make a new console just by clicking the new here. Again, the virtual environment has been activated. I'm going to type clear, and now we can run, hopefully, our runtasks.py, and I'll just check that everything's working there. So it seems to have run. Just go to data.json and yep, the update is the correct time in terms of UTC. So I'm actually going to just leave that running now, and every minute that should run and update our data. So selecting the first terminal then, I'm just going to type clear on this terminal as well. Remember the second terminal is open and is running our script. So if I close that terminal, our script stops running and the updates stop running. What I'd like to do now is actually use Flask, which is inside our app.py and has been waiting patiently for us. 1, to serve our web page, and 2, to actually give us the data from the data.json. So I don't actually want the web page loading the file directly at all. So the way we do this in Flask is very simple. The syntax here, we use something called a decorator. I'm not going into details in Python about what decorators are. It's not a Python course, but you just type @ app and then .root. And then in the string here, we just put the root, which is the API access for our KPI data. So we'll have /KPI data. And then we can type a new function and we'll call this get KPI data. Whenever we hit this root of the Flask server, and you'll see this in a minute, this function will be executed and whatever we return will be returned to whatever has made the request. So in here then we'll just read in our data.json. So we'll say with open data.json and R for read, get the data, which means we need to use JSON load string, and I've just realized at the top we haven't actually imported the JSON, so we should do that. So we load up the string from our data.json file, and then when we've got that data, we can return. I have to point out here, just in case people are a bit horrified by this, this is the simplest way of doing it and obviously makes the assumption this file exists. You need to make sure when you want to make things more robust that you have some checks for the file. Probably you won't have this file name hard-coded and you would have this function in another file somewhere else. But for now we'll just leave it in here and we'll return our data like so. So the last thing we need to do here then to check that all this is up and running is we need to be able to run our Flask service. The way we do this is down in the console, we just need to type Flask and run. And you'll see here that it's telling us that Flask is running on localhost port 5000. So the way this works is Flask, when it's started, automatically looks for a .env file. If it finds one, it looks in there for any environment variables that have been defined that it recognizes. In this case, it will recognize Flask app, which tells it that the app is inside app.py, and also that it should run in debug mode, which means it'll automatically refresh when we make changes and also give us some output to tell us when things are going wrong. So I can control click then on this link here, and you can see after the control click that we've got 127.0.0.1, 5000. I'm not going to click load data because some things are broken at the moment in the front end because of our new API. But what I'm going to do is go to / and KPI underscore data. And you can see when I do that, that the JSON is loading. I'll just click on raw data. I have an extension inside Firefox that allows me to see JSON a bit nicer. But you can see here that it has in fact served our KPI data for us. If I go back to JSON, it's all a bit easier to see. Going back into the terminal, you can see that it received the request for a KPI data here, and that's what it returned to us. So you can see that the route is working. If we want, we could add in just another simple route just as a test, and let's call this one say hello. And in here we can simply return hello. What else needs to do is change the name of the function, so we'll change that to say hello. And then if I type say hello into the top here, you'll see that we get the text hello. So Flask is really good. You can set up these routes and it can send back different responses. And in fact, later on in the web app, we're going to add something else in to send back the actual live candles so we can view those for a particular currency. So good, so we've made real progress there. On one terminal here, we've automatically every minute updating the 1 minute candle prices at the moment, just so things are a little bit quicker to see live. And Flask itself is serving our website and also serving our API. And in our front end, it's this route, the / KPI data, that we're going to call to actually load our information. So thanks very much for watching. Comments, questions, welcome as always on YouTube, and see you in the next one.